KDF troops have been stationed inside Somalia's territory since 2011 in a mission to protect Kenya's territorial integrity. But the one-year tour of duty has been a testing time for the troops who have come face to face with enemy fire in their camps or on the move. Leila Mohammed was for a few days embedded with Sector 2 in Somalia and brings us the story of the troops standing on guard.
The insistent clang of heavy guns and the rounds whistling unobstructed through the night air in a blaze of military firepower as the Kenya Defence Forces troops in Sector 2, one of the 6 sectors under the AU peacekeeping mission, fire warning shots at its enemies in a massive show of strength. This night, they are simulating an all-out war. This display of firepower is meant to help the men prepare to respond to a terrorist provocation. The real task is, however, in turning the simulation into a real execution when the threat of terrorism becomes a reality.
With an enemy who's changing tact every single day and using IEDs to attack Kenyan troops deep within the Somali territory, this is the kind of firepower that they will be found with once they cross that all-important line and Kenyan troops are ready to deal with the threat from within and without Kenyan borders.
We are using the precision in terms of attacks, in terms of raids, in terms of getting to the core of Shabaab and within a population.
This sector has seen its fair share of action. Shabaab militants have executed several attacks against them. The terror group uses remote-controlled improvised explosive devices buried deep beneath the earth. The latest, an attack on a Kenyan convoy almost 6 kilometers from the main base camp of Sector 2 in Doble, serves as a painful reminder of how much pain their enemies can inflict, as they did in 2015 in El Ade and 2016 in Kolbia in Sector 6.
It's unfortunate they selected a soft-skin vehicle vis-a-vis the lead vehicle, which was an armored vehicle.
The asymmetric warfare, obviously, is basically what we are dealing with here. And that aspect of irregularity is what is making you see a lot of those explosives, IEDs all over.
As the number of casualties in this war continues to pile, a number of Kenyans have asked the president to start pulling the troops out of Somalia. The commander-in-chief, however, says not until Somalia is safe.
My immediate commander atajibu hiyo.
Of course, you don't run away because 2 or 3 have died. Again, we are in war. This is expected. What you hear is only when you have 1 or 2 blow-ups. What you don't hear is what you have done to recover so much of that which is about to blow up. And I want you to remember one thing. For a long time now, we've not heard of these kind of situations in Nairobi or even in Kenya. Most of the war is outside, inside this side, not on your side.
The troops use metal detectors or even mechanized mobile devices that can detect the landmines. Each time, these soldiers straddle the thin line between life and death. They work with the United Nations Mine Action UNMAS when detecting and disabling underground IEDs planted along the transit routes. With the ground covered, aerial support is important during the movement of troops or supplies. Major Gunda is a key cog in the military machinery that includes more than a dozen bases inside Sector 2 and parts of Sector 3 and 6, which shares responsibilities with forces from Ethiopia and Burundi.
They don't even have RPG alone. They have a weapon called ZU. It's an anti-aircraft. Several times they furnished to us when we go for missions, when we conduct the ambushes, they come with it, but we've always been up to the game.
When on the move, the ground troops must remain tight-knit. They mustn't break the pattern. But rainwaters that have covered much of the land have compounded the difficulties of keeping to practice in such torturous terrain. In the theater of war, anything can be a possibility, and the Shabaab threat is not the only challenge for the women and men in uniform here in Doble Sector 2 camp. Also, Mother Nature has also pounded this particular area with
rains, and the terrain has also been wet and soggy. The challenge has also been experienced for this convoy this morning, when we had to take a lot of time standing here waiting for help to come to our aid.
From above, the Tabda Forward Base camp sticks out of a flat section of land enfolded in a canopy of various trees. The troops here are always prepared for the big fight. Major Maurice Masese, who is in charge of this forward operation base, is alive to the toll the war takes on his men, and he knows they need not just physical but spiritual nourishment as well as psychological assessments.
We have a specialist among us ourselves who help in guidance and counseling to help us identify any case of psychological effects in our soldiers.
Just like in Doble, these sentries are the first line of defense. The watchtowers offer aerial advantage in the event the enemies approach.
We are able to defeat the darkness by using the visions that we are having.
In the daytime firing practice, the soldiers display their fatal force with every boom of artillery. Sergeant Wanyama, the chief chef out here, ensures that they get sustenance they need.
Wakini wanakuja wengi kule officers mess. Mkubwa wetu mwenye tuko naye hapa ananiita kana ananiambia perfect, chakula ilikuwa mzuri.
He supervises a lean crew, but even though they are in charge of the frontline rations, they are always prepared to join the trenches when such duty calls.
Make sure Somalia iko poa and my comrades tuko safe.
Andui akikuja saizi niko tayari kabisa kumenyana na yeye.
It is a slice of home away from home, but in the chaos of war, the men who have staked their lives and joined the front lines sometimes miss a piece of life back home on the home front.
Mwambie ashikilie juu kesho iko aje. Kiamka asubuhi tunaanza na maombi na tunamaliza siku kwa maombi.
This unfriendly territory, they've continued to learn the most severe lessons on life's dual extremes: heroism and villainy, friendship and enmity, hope and despair, life and death, all that for self, God and country. Leila Mohammed, NTV, Somalia.